Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Fantasy Football Podcast. Thoughts, analysis, and information to help you succeed in your fantasy football leagues. I am your host, Chad Lyon, and I am here as always with Tyler Bevel.
Hey.
And our producer, Mitchell Bird.
Hello.
And today we've got sleepers, breakouts, and busts. And I've been pretty excited for this one. Ty, how you been, buddy?
Pretty good.
Working your tail off?
Oh, yeah.
Hanging mirrors?
Yeah, hanging mirrors.
Pouring concrete?
Yeah, all those things, all those fun things.
You know what's way more fun than that?
Fantasy football?
Yeah, and top 3 lists.
Oh, boy.
Today we have top 3 rock bands.
That's actually not fun. That's just stressful.
This is another one where you need to be like top 24.
Right. I need more. Top 3 rock bands. Alice in Chains. I'll get that out of the way right out of the gate.
Love them.
Faith No More. Oh, man. I'm going to go with Chevelle here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like all 3 of them. Your second one's a bit of a niche band.
Yeah.
Faith No More.
Sorry.
Mike Patton.
You can put on a Faith No More album, though. Like, if you have a Faith No More album, you can put on an album. You can hear anything from hard rock with metal edge to disco on one CD from song to song. Like, it can just be, and I've always enjoyed that. Like, and Faith No More is a band that I like to listen to the album from start to finish because I feel like it's put together purposefully.
Oh, Mike Patton does. Yes, for sure.
100%. Yeah, he's been,
There's a reason, like, the track list is what it is.
I've seen an interview. He's like, well, I'm the greatest thing ever, and I do this. I put this together, and this is how you should listen to it.
Yeah,
he said.
Yeah, he's got a big ego.
He does. Still love him.
All right. Chevelle's awesome, too. Kind of criminally underrated.
Yeah.
I always like Chevelle. Mitchell, how about you?
Well, hey guys, how's it going?
Hey.
I'm not stalling or anything. Let's see here. Top 3 rock bands. That's broad, so let's go with Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Mm-hmm.
Linkin Park. Blink-182.
That's a good list.
Yep.
I like Linkin Park.
All right. I'm going to say his name wrong, so I'm going to get this out of the way right out of the gate. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Does it matter if Frusciante is there or not?
I would have said yes a few
sing
years
about
ago.
California regardless.
For sure. Yeah.
I was happy when he came back, though.
Yeah.
I think it matters.
The Stadium Arcadium album when he came. That was like the first one he came back for, right?
Yes.
It was awesome. There's some good tracks on there.
I
like some of Navarro's work when he was in there. Like,
I like Navarro's work in Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, just because. Like,
yeah, it's a great song.
What do you got, Chad?
I got Tool, Alice in Chains, and the Foo Fighters. I think the Foo Fighters are the last great rock band on the planet right now, in my opinion. I love Dave Grohl.
I'd argue on that, but we're not here for.
They're like one of the only rock and roll bands left.
Yeah, you got to dig a little bit these days, but they're out there. There's some good ones out there.
Tools are just, they introduced my brain. Listening to them for the first time, I was like, oh, there's way bigger things musically out here that I've just not tapped into.
Right.
Big Danny Carey fan as a drummer.
So good.
And like Mitchell's list, Chad Smith, like nobody realizes how awesome that guy is.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah. He is such a good drummer, man. Looks exactly like Will Ferrell.
He
just tears up the kit. Did you ever see the skit that him and
Where
Will Ferrell
do their drum off? Yeah, that's great.
More cowbell.
All right, let's move on to these sleepers, breakouts, and busts. And just a quick note before we get going. This will be looked at as more from like a redraft perspective, but by all means, apply your particular dynasty situation as well here. That makes sense to you, Ty?
Yeah.
All right, let's go with sleepers. And we are going to start with J.K. Dobbins. ADP around 133. Yeah.
I am so shocked. Chad's sleeper list starts with J.K. Dobbins.
It sure does. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I don't know, man. The eye test, it just still holds for me. And like I said, I think it was, episode or 2 ago, I'm going to die on that hill. Like, he has everything you want an elite running back to be outside of health. But the eye test still holds for me for this year. Listen, if injuries plague him again, I have to be out. It's time to hang it up and move on. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I'm giving it one more year. It's an ADP of 133, and I'm taking a swing. They're going to put an emphasis on the run. You know that. And from a pure talent standpoint, Dobbins is the best running back on this team. And I like Kamani Vidal. And we're going to touch on that. I assume here soon we're going to have a rookie revisit episode. I'm going to touch on that some. He's the best running back in the room right now. I haven't seen anything from Vidal other than what he did at Troy. So it's a little hard. I'm taking him over Gus Edwards, and we're talking redraft here. If I'm taking Dobbins, I might consider, if I have room at that point, to take Kamani Vidal. But listen, it's that ADP of 133. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Gus and JK are very close together, so you
Right.
kind of got to make a decision. JK's the upside. The eye test thing cracked me up. I'm not going to lie, Chad.
Why?
Because he passes the eye test. Yeah, that 2 quarters he played 2 years ago before two ACL
Don't you
injuries
dare
ago.
sit there and tell me that J.K. Dobbins does not have elite running back
God, let me
traits.
tell you, man, 2021, he had some burst. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't care. I'll take my whoopings for this, but at 133, what do you have to lose?
No, I mean, yeah.
If that doesn't qualify him as a sleeper at that point, starting running back at 133.
I just don't know if I think this guy can stay healthy at this point. If he does,
I don't either.
I agree with you 100% on what could be, and I feel bad for J.K. Dobbins. I genuinely do.
Me too. You know why? Because he has all the elite traits.
Right.
It's pretty clear. Okay, that's enough.
Maybe
Moving on to Devin Singletary, Tyler's guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Give me some Devin Singletary, man.
Well, he has played in each of the last 2 seasons. That's step one. That's a big one there. He has led each of the teams that he's played for in rushing, both the Bills and the Texans. I think Singletary has a big year this year, and I think where he's going, ADP at 94, I'll take that.
Yeah. How close do you think he pushes 1,000 yards? You think he hits it?
I think he's got 1,000 yards just rushing.
All right. How about touchdowns?
8.
8 touchdowns,
Yeah.
1,000 yards. That's ADP of 94.
He's not going to have 1,100. He's going to have over 1,000, but not 1,100. 8 touchdowns. He'll get 2 receiving touchdowns and have about 400 yards receiving.
Okay. Well, listen, I mean, at that point, you're talking about around round 10 or so. Maybe a hair sooner. 10-ish. That's a pretty good piece for don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I like Devin Singletary a lot. I think this could actually be Singletary's, maybe his best year in the NFL.
You've talked to him or talked about him a bit to me. Yeah, man, you're kind of making me buy into this. I actually tried to buy him in a Dynasty league I think it's the podcast league.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just you talked about him a little last episode.
Well, I tried myself, and let me tell you, it's a little difficult when you see New York Big Blue up there in the corner. You're going to trade for his boy.
That's the Dead Ducks League.
Oh, that's the Dead Ducks League?
Yeah. Brian has him in the podcast league.
I knew that was going to be a problem. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
where's Singletary? Oh, cool. He's with a huge Giants fan.
Yeah, wonderful, right?
Yeah,
No, I like that call, Ty. I really do. You have any more on him?
nope.
Okay, let's go on with Chase Brown, ADP around 122. Listen, everyone's aboard the Zach Moss train. I'm not so sure about that.
I want to be on the Chase Choo Choo.
Come on,
All right, be adults. Time to be adults.
oh, good. Man, oh, man. So there's not a lot statistically to show, that Brown can outperform his ADP. Like, there's not really much there on paper to show that. There is an eye test, though, Tyler.
Right, from last year even, from 2023 even.
It's crazy. And there was flashes in year one. Only 44 carries, 14 catches in year one. But that you're behind Joe Mixon. He's a workhorse. That's to be expected. He's a rookie. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to happen. Now it's just Zach Moss, who, to me, I think that was a bit of an outlier last season. I do not expect that again. I really don't.
No, Zach Moss is serviceable, but I think you also have to look at this from an organizational standpoint with the Bengals. I think Chase Brown was there last year. They saw something. They went out and got Zach Moss, sure, but like you could have, Derrick Henry and Saquon were available. You could have went out and made a bigger splash at running back. I think you got an insurance policy with Zach Moss as a serviceable guy, but I think they want to try it and see what Chase Brown can do.
Yeah, and even if you draft Moss, which is fine, I would not hesitate to take Brown where he's fallen. And I don't think you need to draft Moss to necessarily make a case for taking Chase Brown. I don't think he's going to blow you away statistically. I think there's a pretty good reason to believe he could outperform the ADP of 122 and gives you like a weekly usable piece, especially when the bye weeks creep in, and he might surprise you a little bit. Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm 122. So where do we say Dobbins was? Around 133? Yeah, man. And the way I draft these days, I would have no problem if like 2 late picks of mine were Dobbins and Chase Brown. I have no problem with that at all. That's late picks, man.
You could do a lot worse.
Yeah, sure. At that point of the draft, you sure could. Let's move on to one of Ty's guys here, Will Levis. Ty, give us some Will Levis.
Yeah, if you're going to have a sleeper quarterback, I think you could do a lot worse than Will Levis. Rookie year, he came out. It was great. Oh, God, he's throwing these touchdown passes. He threw like 4 touchdowns in the first game and then threw 4 the whole rest of the season.
Right.
But I think that they saw enough that they want to build around this kid. I know that Mason Rudolph, I think Malik Willis is done. I don't think he's going to be an NFL quarterback. No, I don't think it's going to happen.
Mm-mm.
They brought in Mason Rudolph, and Will Levis smacked him in the mouth a little bit, and those things happened. But no, I think Will Levis is going to actually have a good year. I think this offensive line is going to be better. He's going to get some better protection, and they've quietly put pieces together for this offense. I've talked down Tony Pollard all offseason because I think Tajae Spears is going to have the better guy. But those two together are going to be beneficial for a young quarterback.
Sure.
In the dump-off game, Calvin Ridley,
yep,
you upgrade that. DeAndre Hopkins is still a catch machine. If Will Levis can get the ball in that area, I'm not saying he has the speed and burst that he had.
He never had the speed anyway, man.
No. And
that was never Hopkins.
Get in his catch radius.
Yeah.
He's that guy. I was kind of down on Will Levis, and even like when the offseason started, I was like, well, they signed Mason Rudolph. This is going to be, he's going to go there and he's going to be the quarterback. I don't think so. I think Will Levis gets a thing out here, and I like him as a sleeper. Now, I'm not going to grab a hold of the cojones totally on this one. Like,
big, round, hairy cojones.
In a redraft, I want another quarterback.
Sure.
But I'll take a late flyer on Will Levis, hoping that becomes something.
His ADP is 167.
Yeah, and I think he could put up QB2 numbers. Maybe this is more of a dynasty sleeper, but I in a redraft I'd still take him. I think he's going to be a losing team. I don't think the defense is great. Might make some opportunities for throwing the ball. Garbage points are still fantasy points.
Sure, 100%. And there is some pieces there. Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins, you could do way worse.
Yeah.
You could do way worse. All right, that's Will Levis.
Tyler Boyd now.
What's that?
Tyler Boyd now.
Oh, that's right. He is the third
Tyler
wheel
Boyd
there.
is the third wide receiver.
Well, Treylon Burks is still there.
Yeah.
Boy, that project didn't work out.
Oh, thought it was gonna. I really liked him coming out. I did.
That was their A.J. Brown
Even the
replacement.
first year, you're like, oh, man, this is going to be good. And then, I don't know.
There was a couple moments.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got hurt in his first year, too. Burks.
Yeah, end of the season, I think he was banged up some.
Just didn't work out for him.
No.
Okay, that's it for Will Levis. Let's move on to one of my guys here, Marshawn Lloyd. ADP of around 164. Yeah, he's right down there with Will Levis somewhere. He's in that range. Listen, Josh Jacobs is the main wheel. But I really don't think it's crazy to think that Lloyd's change of pace role could vault him well beyond the ADP of 164. He's basically free. Like, he's just a free player at that point. Like, you're not racing to get him. He was top 20 in yards after contact per attempt, PFF elusive rating, and breakaway percentage in college. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. But I can show you a play by Marshawn Lloyd where he makes five guys miss, still gets tackled 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and fumbles the ball, and it's returned for a touchdown.
You could find one of those plays on like.
No, you can't. Only Marshawn Lloyd can you find those plays. Like, this is a literal thing. He made like 5 Utah guys miss.
Nice cutback by Marshawn Lloyd, and then he
I don't know. I've kind of gone back and gave him a more of an honest look since our rookie shows, and I think I might have been a little wrong about a couple things. So I'm going to stick to this. One simple hiccup to Jacobs' health, and Lloyd's going to see some real work.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like. It seems like, for whatever reason, Marshawn Lloyd is going to be the main beneficiary.
I think he's better than A.J. Dillon.
I do too. It's honestly the fumbling thing is my biggest concern going into this.
We'll talk about Josh Jacobs a little later, but some of my feelings there trickle into the feelings of Marshawn Lloyd. I didn't have Marshawn Lloyd on this list as of just a couple days ago. After I did Josh Jacobs I guess I'm just putting it out there. He's one of our busts today. After I did that, it forced me to go and look at Marshawn Lloyd more. And I'm like, man, I might have missed the boat on that. I think Marshawn Lloyd could be pretty good.
I know I said it when we talked about the rookies. I think of all the rookie tape that I watched this year, which is more than I've ever watched. Marshawn Lloyd's tape was the craziest to me out of anybody in this draft class, because
that's some wild tape.
There are times when you're watching him run for the Trojans and you're like, oh, Reggie Bush is back.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This guy. And then 2 plays later, it's like he's running the reverse by himself. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
No particular reason. I just kept on going.
Let's not forget that whole line he was behind either.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, man, the ADP is 164 and he's behind Josh Jacobs. We'll get into that a little bit later. Fair enough.
I hope they're beating the hell out of this kid with bags. Like those things that they jam at him to try and make him fumble. And like every day I want, like, somebody needs to walk out there with a compass, be like, this is north, this is south. You need to go north. And this offense is like, you feel like the Packers offense is right on the verge of being one of those high powered offenses.
Yep. Totally agree. All right. So you see what I'm saying? He's
absolutely.
Around 164, man. He's a free player.
Yeah.
Like at that point, you're like mulling over defenses and stuff and kickers, right?
Yeah.
So what the hell? All right. Let's move on to one of your dudes. Let's go on to Curtis Samuel. Take it away, Ty.
So and this is a tough one because I've really been back and forth with this. Somebody's going to produce. Whether it be Khalil Shakir or Curtis Samuel. Today we're talking about Curtis Samuel as a sleeper. Is the Bills' wide receiver room better than we have maybe thought it was?
Maybe. I'm not.
But we've talked, and not so much, but like same thing with JK in a sense that like with Curtis Samuel, it's like you feel like we've been saying for years and years, oh, well, in this offense, oh, they're going to utilize him this way.
It's because he has those flashes and moments, man.
And
even in Washington,
maybe this is
Carolina.
It. Maybe he's got a quarterback now, Josh Allen. That I'm going to go with that logic on Curtis Samuel as my sleeper. I'll be honest with you, I want it to be Khalil Shakir because I have lots of stock in him.
Me too.
But I think there's real potential here for Curtis Samuel to creep into here. What was we were talking the other day, and maybe I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what was the fact you had about that offensive coordinator throwing to the slot guys?
Oh, that's Seattle.
That's Seattle.
That's
okay,
Seattle.
Never mind.
But I believe the O coordinator in Buffalo right now is the same O coordinator Curtis Samuel had in Carolina.
Okay.
Is that maybe what it was?
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. That bodes well for him. There's familiarity there. Like you might be onto something. It might be Curtis Samuel. Everyone wants to jump on the Keon Coleman. Like he's a rookie, man. Like as good as we want these guys to be, like Marvin Harrison to me is the only one that's gonna really like
Neighbors if he had a QB, but he doesn't.
Right. Harrison just happens to be in a situation where he could pop right away. Like I have a hard time believing Keon Coleman's gonna get his. He's gonna have his games for sure.
Yeah,
but,
and Dalton Kincaid, we feel is the
yes.
target hog here. But, I mean, I still think either Khalil Shakir or Curtis Samuel, one of those two, with Josh Allen being the guy that he is, it's going to blow up.
I would get on that. I don't have his ADP in front of me, but I can't imagine it's high at all. Yeah, I would.
I mean, the speed there is still there.
He's a menace when the ball's in his hands too, man.
Oh, yeah.
He'll run
shifty.
through you. He'll shift around you. He's a tough football. I've always said that about Curtis Samuel. I've always thought he was a really good football player.
133.
That's fine. That's
Khalil
right there.
Shakir is 136. So that's why I'm saying you kind of have to make a choice here.
Sure.
I am advocating for Curtis Samuel. I've advocated for Khalil Shakir before. I honestly think one of these guys is going to hit. And as I was going over this stuff, it seemed like maybe I had been overlooking Curtis Samuel a bit, and this could be something that really. But at 133 or 136, take a chance on one of these guys. With Josh Allen as the QB, the opportunity is there.
Yep.
Go for it.
Yep. Even though they're going to want to run the ball more, Josh Allen's still your quarterback.
Yeah.
Man. You're going to throw
Right.
a lot more than people are. People are almost thinking they're going to like go to this Baltimore Ravens heavy run style. It's going to be just more run heavy than what we're used to seeing. Maybe like more like the end of last year. And then there was still plenty of throwing, plenty of Josh Allen doing his thing.
Oh, yeah. And the Bills were so pass heavy prior to that. And, I think they want to be more balanced, but I still think Josh Allen's your guy. Just like you said, you're going out there. You're not afraid to put the name on Josh Allen's back either. No. He's that guy that can do it if he has to.
Yep. Totally agree. I like this call. I mean, he's, ADP is right around there with Dobbins. If I'm faced with the two of them looking at me, I think I'd go Samuel.
Oh, in a redraft league, let me just throw this at you. You are looking at, now there's one guy that I see that is probably going to be, but at 130, you're looking at Tyler Lockett. 133, Curtis Samuel. 136, Khalil Shakir. 139, Romeo Dobbs. 140, Mike Williams. And 143, Jacoby Myers. Other than Jacoby Myers, give me Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, I was going to say, I still like Samuel over all of them.
Yeah.
It's pretty close with Myers, but
Myers is he's just crazy.
One is with Josh Allen and one is not.
Yeah.
And one is with somebody way less than Josh Allen.
For sure. Isn't that?
So, yeah, I mean, the opportunities are going to be there for someone like Myers, but they should be there for Samuel too. And give me the one that's linked to Josh Allen.
Yeah, agreed.
Fair enough?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to another one of your sleepers here. This is our last sleeper. Jalani Woods. Go ahead, Ty.
This is a deep, deep sleeper here.
Yeah, it's a pretty deep one.
And it's not, though. Like, we're in leagues that are 12 and 14 man, and there's a guy in every league, it seems, that is praising Jalani Woods. But the thing is, this is a big, physically gifted tight end in a team with a quarterback that only played 4 games. We've talked before about young quarterbacks and tight ends. I don't really think from a physical standpoint, anybody is close to where Jalani Woods is as far as a pass catcher. I think if he plays all year, Jalani Woods, his ADP...
His ADP is 272.
He will so outperform that.
You want to talk about a free player.
Even if he's in a timeshare. Yeah, this is a guy that you can take with the last pick.
I'd rather roll the dice on him than Mike Gesicki.
Oh, absolutely.
Over Greg Dulcich, over Colby Parkinson. All these guys are ahead of him.
Yeah, give me him over Tucker Kraft.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you take him over Okonkwo? Not quite.
I think I would. I just think if he's the guy that's on the field, he has a better season than Chico Okonkwo.
I could see that. They rotate tight ends a lot.
I don't know that they're gonna.
But that might have been an injury-related.
Jelani Woods was hurt all of last year, and I think that is some of the tight end rotation. I guess he's been balling out some in camp. Definitely, he's been doing good enough in camp that it's creating some hype.
Good, because there was not a ton, but there was a little hype around him when he came out. An intriguing build,
Yeah.
to say the least.
What is he, 6'7"?
Yeah, I
Red
believe
zone
so.
target. Like
Yeah.
I like this guy, and I like him being a tight end on a team with a young quarterback, and he's just kind of under the radar enough that you can take this guy with your last pick, and it might be. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm just going to use this as an old example. I know of a league back in the day where Tyler Eifert was the last player taken in a draft. He scored like 15 touchdowns that year.
Yep.
You're not going to do that with Jalani Woods. Jalani Woods is
No.
not going to score 15 touchdowns, but this can be a huge value for your fantasy season right here.
Boy, how good would Tyler Eifert have been if not for just a mess of injuries?
Yeah,
He was going to be
he was gonna be
really
in
good
that
football
elite-
player, man.
elite
Yes.
tight end conversation.
Every
for
now
sure.
and then you get one of those guys where it's like, it's just not going to work. And then you know who that might be? Might be J.K. Dobbins. It just might not work.
Well, he passes the eye test, you know.
Yeah. Well, so did Tyler Eifert. All right, that's
Yeah,
enough.
Tyler Eifert played a season one time.
He did get all the way through.
Yeah, well,
Almost.
the majority of the games.
Yeah, Dobbins hasn't come close to that.
No.
All right. Well, actually, yes, he did. Yes, he did. He pushed it.
Dobbins?
Yeah, wasn't it his rookie year? I believe he had around 800 yards.
Really?
I do believe so. You go ahead and pull that up. I'm going to go ahead and move on to breakouts. My first breakout here is going to be Dalton Kincaid. ADP around 52. We just kind of talked about it. There is a lack of something in Buffalo, and it's called pass catchers. I'd have to say the exceptional route running and sure hands we saw doses of last year proved this pick to be a fruitful one, I think. And I think we're about to see it hit much bigger. Allen trusts him. He'll lean on him a lot. I want a guy that Allen trusts and leans on. I know that. And I don't think it's ridiculous at all to think he could score 10 touchdowns this year. And I'll even toss in 850 receiving with it. You could do worse with an ADP like this too. And he might push 1,000 yards. If you're telling me I could draft 3 wide receivers, maybe another player, and then Dalton Kincaid, that's a hard buy. What do you think?
I like Dalton Kincaid. And if you're doing that and you have that many players in front of him, I really like Dalton Kincaid. I think top 3 tight end of the year.
Yeah. Things are changing, and we're going to talk about that when we get into sleepers too. But the tight end landscape's starting to change a little bit. That makes me happy because it was always you'd rip your hair out every single week. Because I always had a hard time prioritizing one of those big 3 when it was Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle. And it's like, man, I always ended up with some streamer. So it's nice to see it is growing. The landscape of tight ends growing, and that makes me happy. It's better for everybody
And
that way.
More of the pass catching tight end is kind of becoming like Dalton Kincaid, more Travis Kelce than he is like. There's still a place for the Jason Witten tight end guys like that are the big blockers and catching the underneath stuff, but these guys are serious pass catchers anymore.
He stepped right in for Dawson Knox as a rookie.
Yeah.
He did a hell of a good job. I was really impressed. I love him in dynasty leagues.
Oh yeah.
Huge, especially tight end premium. Oh, with the lack of pass catchers, if you got a tight end premium league,
And I just think this wide receiver room being so young,
yes,
like you said, Josh is going to be looking for this guy.
there's already a comfort level.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it a lot. All right, let's move on to Zamir White.
Yeah.
Ty's guy.
I only put him on here because I'm pulling for him. I got him in a dynasty league, so I was like, well, Zamir White's just going to be a guy because I need him to be.
A lot of opportunity this year.
Yeah. This is Breakout, right?
Yep.
Breakout, yeah. Zamir White. A lot of opportunity. And they didn't really bring in anybody. They brought in Alexander Madison, who I believe is brought in to be a backup. I think they're going to give Zamir White a shot at this thing. If the tail end of last season is any indicator, I'm all in on this.
His ADP is pushing 70.
Give
It's around 69.
I'll take it.
Yeah. At that point, 6th, maybe 7th round if you're lucky.
Don't you feel like Antonio Pierce is going to try to run the ball too?
Yes.
No matter who the quarterback is, whether it's Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell.
Yep. And opportunity equals what? Fantasy points.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm big on Zamir White this year. I love that call. Like you said, you got Minshew or O'Connell under center. Neither one of those guys are world beaters.
No, and if it is Minshew, he's a dump-off champ.
Oh, he sure is.
That bodes well for a PPR running back, too.
And Zamir White's got some good pass-catching skills.
He does, and he flashed some big play ability.
Yes. Yep. I think he's a real deal. Again, it's going to be opportunity aplenty. And that, again, opportunity equals points, man.
Some of the games, too, like these weren't low-level deep, like the Chiefs.
Right.
He was doing some of this stuff against highly ranked defenses. Now, granted, the Chargers were in there; they had bad, but Zamir White was doing some good things against good defenses. I think it's a big year for Zamir White.
Yeah, if
you ain't getting him at 70 next year.
No, and I like to point this out. If you don't think, even if you don't think Zamir White is like an elite level type back, that's fine. I want you to look at someone like David Montgomery, what he does with opportunity.
Yep.
And I want you to go way back. This is a throwback, but it just, I use this all the time. Kevin Smith, running back for
this
Detroit.
Is a throwback.
It is. I mean, John Kitna was under center, I'm pretty sure. Was he an elite world beater? No. But did they feed the hell out of him and give him a ton of opportunity? Yep. And could you flex him every single week and RB2 on a lot of weeks? Yeah, you sure could. And you'd get him late. Opportunity equals points, man. No one's ever, like, I will never, ever allow myself to lose that argument.
Sure. I mean, there's a guy like Rachaad White.
Yeah, I don't think
averaged under 4 yards per carry, but he catches a lot of passes. However he gets it done,
it's opportunity.
He's scoring fantasy
it
points.
It might not look pretty. It doesn't have to look pretty.
Don't matter if it says 17 on your team scorecard. You're doing good. That's all you got to worry about.
Damn right. Totally agree. All right, let's move on to Jaxon Smith-Nijgba. ADP around 106. This is a little bit of a gutsy call for me, but there's one little known fact. And this is the fact before. Remember. New Seahawks coordinator Ryan Grubb.
Man, I robbed you of this. I tried to.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm like, Ty, what are you doing?
Shut up, dude. I'm going to talk about this later.
No, this is it is a gutsy call, but this one little known fact. Their new O coordinator Ryan Grubb, who was previously at the University of Washington with Penix and those guys, he has dialed up at least 170 targets to the slot in every year for the past 3 years. This is where Njigba does his work. So again, this is an opportunity thing. Like when I read that stat, I'm like, oh my good Lord. Like that went right over my head. I didn't even notice it. So when I was digging around and looking for some breakouts, I'd come across that stat. Listen, man, Njigba does his work. His best work is done in the slot. They have to be insane not to know that. They know that. They're professional football coaches. They know what they have. So to bring in an O coordinator like that just peppers the slot with an ADP around 106, I will take that chance, man. I mean, you're not taking this guy in the third or fourth round. I think it's a very reasonable potential breakout call with a stat like that. And something has got to give with Njigba. I believe there's a good chance it's bound to happen this year. And even with the return of Lockett and DK still hanging around, 63 catches for 628 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. I know it makes you go, eh. But if Grubb continues that trend of 170 targets to the slot, I think Njigba is going to break out. The talent's too good with opportunities like that. Where do you stand?
I love this kid. I really do.
It's a long, like I said, I started it right out like this. It feels gutsy.
Does Tyler Lockett get some slot work?
Probably.
So
is he going to be there more?
Do we go
Njigba?
down to 85 slot targets? Let's do this, Chad.
All right.
Let's do this. Christian Watson or Jaxon Smith-Nijgba?
JSN.
Lad McConkey or Jaxon Smith-Nijgba?
JSN.
Keon Coleman.
Njigba.
Jameson Williams.
Njoku.
Those are the wide receivers that are around him.
And you could probably make some arguments. You could make arguments for Keon Coleman. Hey, listen, I think Jameson Williams is a really good receiver. You have to take away year one. Year two was weird. So I look at Jameson as like last year was his rookie year.
Yeah.
So you could really make an argument between those two. This year he is going to be the wide receiver too, right out of the gate.
More crowded room, but Jaxon Smith-Nijgba has done more than Jameson Williams at the NFL level with the opportunity. Granted, opportunities are different, but Jackson showed more. I want this kid to be on this team as the wide receiver too.
Me too.
I do. I do have some concerns, like whether.
But some of those guys you just mentioned, like if I'm looking at receiver there, like.
Yeah, I probably am going to take Keon Coleman over Jaxon Smith-Nijgba.
That's fair.
I'm going Smith-Nijgba over Christian Watson. Jameson Williams, it's a coin toss. I'll probably take Jameson Williams and play the upside.
So it's reasonable to take him where he's at. It's just how gutsy is this breakout call?
It's a gutsy breakout call. And like, if this worked out where this kid is lining up in the slot 70% of the time, I mean, I think you got a huge hit and it's great info.
Okay. Well, we'll see if those 170 targets of the slot trend continue. And I just hope Smith-Njigba's there more than he's not.
If he gets 100 targets, it's a big year.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I'd love it. All right. Let's move on to Isiah Pachecho.
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear it.
Isiah Pachecho. I more so than CEH ever did, I just want Isiah Pacheco to have an Andy Reid running back season.
Yep.
I think it's here. I think Andy Reid is going to use Pacheco heavily this year. I think he's going to catch passes. I think he's going to continue his trend of this guy runs so angry.
I love it.
Like it's like he's stomping when he's running the ball.
Yeah, what did Mahomes say is he runs like he's angry at the earth.
He does. Like and he really does. I love watching Pacheco, but I just think this is the year that he just turned it on. I'm predicting top 5 fantasy running back season. Now, like I said, we know what Andy Reid has done, whether Shady and Westbrook and lots of running backs over the years have had great seasons under Andy Reid. I think it's Pacheco's turn.
Fair enough. There's a story as to why he runs so angry. I don't want to screw this up, but I'm quite sure he lost 2 siblings when he was in high school.
Really?
I'm pretty sure that's what I think it was 2 siblings, or maybe a sibling and a cousin, 2 family members, regardless. And that was kind of like his thing. Like it was a neat little interview. That's why he runs hard. He's mad about it, and he runs for them. Kind of a cool story.
I love watching.
Terribly sad story.
Yeah, it is. But his playing style is, you can't help but admire it.
He's so much fun to watch, man. I love Pacheco. Yeah, nothing to argue with there. I don't think anyone would have anything to argue with there.
McKinnon is gone, correct? They brought CEH back, but you know what his role is going to be at this point? I just think the door is wide open for Pacheco to blow.
Yep. It was like pretty close to a breakout last year, but this is going to be like an explosion.
That was a breakout light to use your frame.
I would even say better than breakout light. Yeah. This year, I think he could absolutely explode. He could be RB1 by the end of the year, and I would not be surprised.
This is full flavor though, 100s. This is the real deal.
Yep. Breakout. If you can get him. Yeah, full flavor.
Yeah. The wides.
Cigarette comparisons. Yeah. Oh, good Lord. All right, let's move on to Zay Flowers. His ADP is around 58. He almost had what I would consider a breakout in year 1.
Yeah.
A breakout light.
Yeah.
And he almost did it in like a run-heavy offense. 77 catches, 858 yards, and 5 touchdowns as a rookie. That's not bad. And I think it's very fair to assume that he can get to 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns with a way more comfortable rapport in place with Lamar Jackson and just the offense as a whole. I think Flowers is like exceptionally talented.
Scary when he gets the ball.
He really is. Playmaker written all over him. He did make a few rookie mistakes last year, but I think that was more like, I don't know if I'd call it a rookie mistake, man. Like the one in particular, he was trying to fight to get to the end zone. He just shouldn't have reached. I mean, they could have ran that baby in from the one. And,
big time game, too.
yes, it sure was. But I think they get these things corrected, and I think Flowers could totally flourish his way to a 1,000-yard receiver. Somebody you're happy you have. He's your 5th or 6th player that you're taking.
Run-heavy team doesn't even bother me with him because of what he can do when he gets the ball in his hands.
Somebody has to be that guy.
Yep.
Somebody's got to be that guy. So I am in on Zay Flowers. I don't think that's a crazy call for a breakout at all.
No.
My crazy call with JSN, I'm going to calm down a little bit now. But I really like Zay Flowers. I really
do too.
All right. Let's go on to Garret Wilson. Take it away, Tyler.
This kid's going to blow up.
Oh, he's so awesome.
Like, this is what we had.
Rodgers, man, you got to stay healthy.
I don't care if he's 40 years old. I think he will stay healthy. I hope he does for the Jets organization, for Aaron Rodgers, for
me too.
Everybody out there rooting for the Jets. I hope Rodgers stays healthy for you. I really do.
Yeah.
And I want to see it. I want to see it unfold. And I just think when you watch Garret Wilson, even with the quarterback play that he had last year, this kid he's it. I mean, you watch the terrible pass to the front corner of the end zone, and he just like goes up with a guy holding his arm, grabs the ball, brings it back down.
He's the real deal, man.
He is, and I just think him and Rodgers. Terrible thing with the Achilles last year. They've been waiting a whole year for this. I just think I'm calling this a breakout because basically of his quarterback play last year, and I think Garret Wilson is a top 5 wide receiver. That I haven't been shy about that through our whole thing that we've been covering. I think sky is the limit for this kid.
He just needs competency at quarterback. That's what.
Yeah, throw the ball like within 5 yards of his arm length, and it'll be okay. He's ADP of 14 right now, 7th wide receiver off the board. So I mean, I think both those are higher. I think he's a top 10 fantasy scorer, and I think he's a top 5 fantasy wide receiver.
Does it make you nervous at all to take him as like you said, ADP of 14? If you're sitting at the back of the draft in a 12-man PPR league, say you're pick 12 and Garret Wilson falls on your lap, you're okay with that?
Smash.
Yep. Okay. I just wondered. No concerns at all. Like if Rodgers can't hold up, you're still okay with it?
No, because I think somebody's going to have to come in there eventually anyways. And
better than Zach Wilson.
Yeah, he's gone. I think Garret Wilson is going to be successful in this league regardless. Even with Zach Wilson and them, like he still put up good numbers last year.
There were times where it's like there were a couple games there where it's like he's unstartable. Zach Wilson's killing me.
I don't think he has those frustrations this year because he was clearly frustrated.
Oh, by the end of the year, it was so obvious. And I don't usually say I feel bad for professional athletes, but felt a little bad watching it. It's like, man, you have all this talent and we don't get to see it.
Yeah. Like one thing, so with Devontae Adams being in the news lately, and people are talking. Mm-hmm. One thing that I thought was that Aaron Rodgers had said that kind of made me think of like the Garret Wilson thing because he's like, well, sometimes because Devontae Adams takes so much attention, it takes like a whole season to figure out how to get him the ball because of the coverages that they put and all the attention that they send his way. Garret Wilson is going to get some attention this year, but he has a quarterback who is going to get him the ball.
He'll figure it out.
Regardless of the defense. And whether you love, hate Aaron Rodgers, I don't care. The guy is still one of the better quarterbacks to ever play the game.
Yeah.
When you get on the field, his talk shows and stuff he does, whatever you think, when he is on that field, he can read defenses as good as anybody in the league right now. And I think he's still got the arm to put it wherever he wants.
I agree.
Garret Wilson blows up this year.
Like you got to put that stuff aside. Like you if you're going to play with your heart, you're going to lose more than you win. Play with your brain. Aaron Rodgers is still a good quarterback.
Oh, yes.
Beyond good. So, all right, I agree. I love Garret Wilson. I hope it works out. I really do. All right, Tajae Spears, ADP around 104. Couple eye test games late last year. Henry's out of the way. And in my opinion, an underwhelming Tony Pollard is now in the way. Yeah. Which, hearing that, yeah, right there out of Tyler, we both agree on that. I think Spears eventually will quite literally take this job and run with it. Now, I don't think it happens right away, and like Pollard will not be completely phased out at any point. Like they're not just going to give him 0 touches.
No.
Pollard's going to kind of be in the way. But again, I don't think it happens right away. I think it's going to take a few weeks to work itself out. But I think even if it gets to a 50-50 split, give me all the Tajae Spears at that ADP. And there's just, I don't know. Pollard's going to make things tricky, but I just think that talent of Spears supersedes the fact that they went out and signed Pollard. I'm thinking he's going to make it so essentially he gives them no choice but to give him more work. Is that fair to say?
I think Tajae Spears gets, yeah, I guess my only counter to that is I think it's at least 50-50 right out of the gate.
Immediately. I hope
Yeah.
so. That's
don't-
what I want it to be. I just don't want him to say, well, we paid Pollard all this money. We better,
Yeah.
I'm not in a front office, so I don't.
I look at Pollard as, you're bringing in that other playmaker for a young quarterback.
I love his burst and acceleration. Good Lord.
Yeah.
When he finds a crease, man, exceptional pass catching skills. Toughness as a runner to score
Shifty.
from close, too. Like just pure toughness to score from close.
And low center of gravity. Like
Yep.
I'm not saying that he's a power back or anything, but man, if he needs to get low and put his pads on somebody, he's not afraid to do it.
And like you said, shifty. Like he's kind of an all around kind of back. I just think at the end of the day, he's better than Pollard.
I do too.
Massive upside. I don't think that they could ignore it.
No.
And I think you're crazy to pass him at
And
104.
like you look like what Tajae Spears did with a terrible offensive line last year. Cowboys offensive line, though banged up, was still pretty good last year. And Pollard was just the big thing coming in last year, like, oh, Tony Pollard's got the backfield's his, da-da-da-da-da. Well, he underperformed. And Tajae Spears, that offensive line getting better. They made some improvements throughout the offseason. I just think this is the guy.
Yeah, fair enough. Is it reasonable to say that RB2 numbers?
Yeah,
I mean, it kind of have to. Like
I expect RB2 numbers. I think the floor is flex numbers.
but it's to be a breakout. It's going to have to be RB2. So I'm calling RB2 numbers. It's very possible.
His ADP is 20 lower than Tony Pollard.
I think it's fine if you take them both too. But me personally, I'm going to skip Pollard. I'm not even going to touch him. I'm just going to take Spears.
Yeah.
All right. We were going to put Drake London in here but we talk about him a lot. But we think Drake London's going to break out too. We'll put that in there before and not spend any time.
We're the only ones who think that. Nobody else has called that yet. So
all right. That's it for breakouts. Let's move on to busts. And I'll start here. Chris Olave, ADP around 24. I'm an Olave fan. I am. I'm just not an ADP of 24 Olave fan. Is that fair?
yeah.
Okay. It feels a little too rich for my blood. I think there's other guys I'd rather take a shot on. Drake London is right around that ADP. Nico Collins, Isiah Pacheco, Sam Laporta. Like there's guys that are in better situations. I don't like the situation for him. And I also don't like the ADP around 24. So it's kind of got two things going against him. In Dynasty, I'm all over Chris Olave, but in a redraft, I'm avoiding him at an ADP of 24. I'm just Derek Carr. He does not help make the ADP worthwhile to me. He did break 1,000 yards last year, but I need to see 5 touchdowns. Like they got to come up. Before I'm willing to pay that kind of price, I'll let someone else take that chance. And I put in here in the notes, it might be more of a Carr problem than an Olave problem for me. But I don't know, man. I want to see him in a better situation or a better ADP. I'm just not willing to do it.
Yeah, for a redraft, I want to avoid Olave this year. Just because even if you like some of the younger, like Spencer Rattler being there, and Derek Carr, oh man.
Yeah.
It just seems like
He's not the kind of receiver who needs a
people
game
have
manager.
these expectations for Derek Carr, and I really don't know where it comes from.
No, he's a game manager.
Yeah.
He had that spike with Jack Del Rio when he had Crabtree, and like he had a bit of an exceptional year for Derek Carr standards, and people have kind of held on to that, I think.
When he came into the league, like, people were holding on to that. It seemed like, oh, he was this high prospect, and then he come in and he had like a couple. He's just giving you enough that you keep having this hope, and I don't know. I don't like Olave this year, and I wonder about guys like Juwan Johnson and Rashid Shaheed coming more underneath, and Olave is just this deep threat guy that turns into a boomer bust.
That's another, like, if you're and he is more of a deep threat type receiver. I mean, he can do other things too, but you really, for a guy of with his skill set, you don't really want a game manager under center.
No.
It's just not helping what Olave has potential to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to another one of your guys here. Let's go on to Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah. I don't care who he gets traded to. I think right now on the 49ers is the most value you are going to get for Brandon Aiyuk. And I think his ADP of wide receiver 17 or 35 is too high.
Pretty high.
There's guys, I mean,
who can you get around him?
like Deebo Samuel, Nico Collins.
Give me Nico.
Yeah.
Yep.
Michael Pittman Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Kupp, Rachaad White, James Cook. Joe Mixon, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore. Like, I want DJ Moore.
I take DJ Moore. Yep.
Devonta Smith.
Yep. He's a guy I really should have. I just think a lot of people have him in their breakouts. I didn't put Devonta Smith in there, but yeah, Devonta Smith for sure. I think is going to have his best
I feel
year.
like Aiyuk is a tier high from what he's actually supposed to be. I think he needs to be dropped down a tier. And I think I'm just going to speculate here. I'm going to put on my speculator's cap. If he goes to Pittsburgh, his value goes down. If he goes to Washington, I think his value goes down.
And that's really about it's one of those two. It sounds like if anybody right now, it's going to be Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and
that's based off of
if Aiyuk goes to Pittsburgh, and you have to assume that if he gets traded, they're going to give him a deal. You don't want the thing that the Jets are going through right now, where okay, this guy got traded to them, and then he's like, well, I ain't playing for you either because you're not giving me a contract. So you have to assume Pittsburgh's going to give him a contract. I can't sit here and honestly say that I believe Aiyuk is a better wide receiver than George Pickens.
I think if Aiyuk goes to Pittsburgh, I'm Aiyuk over Pickens.
I'm not.
Okay. Why?
Aiyuk is schemed open. We talk all the time about San Francisco, this quarterback, any quarterback could come in here because, it's a QB-friendly system. It's a QB-friendly system. It's an offensive player-friendly system.
That's a great point. That's a really good point.
And, when you've watched George Pickens the last 2 years with Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph, 95% of his catches are contested because his quarterbacks were terrible.
Right. That's a fair point.
And I just think Aiyuk is not, and maybe Arthur Smith will be better this year for the Steelers, but
that's true too.
Aiyuk has been he's been in a Kyle Shanahan offense that has just been you're just not sometimes Aiyuk could just come running across the field and it's like, where's this guy? Who's supposed to be covering this guy? I think it's going to be tougher sledding wherever he goes, whether it be Washington or Pittsburgh. Those are the speculation. Like you said, seems like if anything is Pittsburgh, I think his value goes down. And I think his value is too high right now, even if he stays in San Francisco.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, let's move on to Rachaad White. ADP around 33. I think that's just, I'm going to start right off and say that's way too high for me. It just is. A lot of guys I'd rather take here than White. One being Joe Mixon, clear down to ADP of 42. DJ Moore with an ADP of 45. I'll take both of them over Rachaad White.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. White there is upside. I just don't know if it's ADP of 33 kind of upside. Is that a fair point?
Yeah, because we could keep going here. And I like Rachaad White. I do. I don't know how. It really, to me, Rachaad White ran the ball poorly. He made his fantasy points and success off of catching the ball. How sustainable do you think that is, I guess?
I really don't. I really don't. Again, it's entirely too high. 3.6 yards per carry, as Tyler's mentioned. That's not going to sell me. Like, that's not helping, really. Again, like to reiterate what you said, I realize it's a pass game that gave him that boost. And he did rush for over 900 yards. But with that YPC average of 3.6, that creates a really spotty box score.
It does.
So I agree with Tyler in that Bucky Irving could chew into some here. I think White's numbers might actually go down. Or even if they stay what they are, that doesn't call for an ADP of 33.
No. And like when you're looking at this too, like Joe Mixon, you had stated, I mean, there's still guys down here. Zamir White, I want more. I can wait and get a guy like Zamir White, who I think is going to perform just as good as Rachaad White. And you're getting him for way less.
Yeah, I completely agree. The vast majority is against us on this one, but I'm going to hold to it.
Yeah, I am too. Like, I'll wait. I will wait and take a guy like Austin Eckler, like Zamir White, like Chase Brown.
Just stack up at your receivers and maybe wait a little bit.
If you watched that one game that J.K. Dobbins played 2 years ago, maybe him, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's real nice, Ty. I think that's a good sign to go ahead and move on to no. No, we don't have to quite move on because I wanted to see. So the ADP was around.
Here's one for you, Chad.
All right, give me one.
Travis Etienne or Rachaad White?
Come on, man.
I'm doing it. Redraft.
Give me ETN.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Boy, I can't believe that just come out of my mouth.
What the hell did you just say?
I can't believe
Like Javonte Williams. It's like, I mean, there's just guys. Honestly, there is a good chance. Like with Bucky Irving coming in there, like a guy who's maybe should have been on the list, but he's kind of been like Brian Robinson Jr. The season that he had last year, I could honestly see being the type of season White has this year.
Sure.
Like, I don't know if it's going to be this 1,000-yard season, 60 catch thing. I just don't know if that's what you're going to get out of Rachaad White. The price is too high.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Here's one for you: Rachaad White or Brandon Aiyuk. They're side by side.
Redraft.
Yep.
Give me Rachaad White.
Rachaad White versus Mike Evans. This is all redraft.
Evans.
Rachaad White versus Jalen Hurts. I mean,
Jalen Hurts.
Right. So, like, I don't understand the neighborhood that he's hanging in, man. Rachaad White or Jalen Waddle?
Waddle.
Diggs. See, I don't. And, like, you can go down a little further, DJ Moore, give me Devonta Smith over him. Yeah, that just.
And DJ Moore.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Now we can actually move on. Let's go on to David Njoku.
I'm sorry, Mr. Njoku, but I just think Deshaun Watson sucks, and your fantasy season is going to suffer for it. Yeah. This has nothing to do with David Njoku. I mean, with Joe Flacco, this guy was awesome.
Yeah. Only with Joe Flacco.
Only with Joe Flacco. Like, because
awesome?
he came into the league and everybody's like, oh, this guy's a monster. He's going to be this great tight end. Nothing ever really happened. And then like, oh, well, now he's got Deshaun Watson. It's going to be really good. Well, it still didn't happen. And then old Joe comes back and there he is. There's Njoku. But this is the guy we've been waiting for. No.
I'm with you, dude. I just
don't think any Cleveland give me Amari Cooper because he somehow makes it happen. Especially, like, man, I have Amari Cooper on a bunch of teams, and that whole Brandon Aiyuk thing, I was like, go to Cleveland. Let Amari Cooper go to San Fran. Like, let's make this happen right now for my fantasy team's sake. No, any pass catchers, and I really just don't think Deshaun Watson is ever going to be the player that he was, and I base a lot of stuff on that. And then Njoku, unfortunately, no fault of yours, I just don't think he's going to have a good year. I don't think he's going to be the value. I think we're looking at the Njoku years from years 1 through 3. I think that's what we're getting this year out of David Njoku.
Okay. All right, fair. It kind of reminds me of why we don't, and I don't have his ADP right here.
He's an ADP of 78.
Okay.
And he is right between Evan Ingram and Jake Ferguson, both who I
give me either one of them
way more than.
Yep. Wait, it's not even close for me.
Brock Bowers, Dallas Goedert, T.J. Hawkinson, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet, Pat Fryermuth. I still want all those guys over David Njoku. Luke Musgrave and Hunter Henry is honestly where it starts to get like.
Yeah, I take Njoku over either one of those.
Yeah,
guys. Yep.
but all the way down to Fryermuth, Kmet. Like, I want those guys over Njoku just because I think it's the Njoku from pre-Joe Flacco.
Yeah, if we're wrong, we're wrong, man. But I
at a certain point of me wants to say, like, well, you are wrong. The Browns had to see what Njoku could do when Joe Flacco was throwing the ball. They had to see that.
Right.
But, man, they had to know it was
maybe
there
there's
before.
more of an emphasis like, hey, we need to feed him a little more.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what they're going to have to do. Otherwise, I don't get that ADP.
No.
Okay. Let's go to another tight end. Mark Andrews, ADP around 47. Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, and Evan Ingram. Every one of these guys is being drafted behind Mark Andrews. I love Andrews as a talent, but I do not love an ADP of 47 at all.
Yeah.
I understand him missing time from week 11 on last year, but his numbers do appear to be on a bit of a downswing either way. He's basically finished as tight end 4 for several years straight, but I think the fall starts. I do. Let's be honest, man. Finishing top 5 at tight end has not exactly been a super hard chore over the last several years. This is what I was talking about earlier with Dalton Kincaid and the tight end landscape and, blah, blah, blah. It's not been a hard chore to achieve. The landscape is so thin. To be that is just not that difficult.
Gets a little bit more difficult this year.
Yeah, there's been like 3 or 4 guys doing the damage. And things we're getting deeper now. There's new fresh faces coming into the mix. Give me the younger Kincaid or McBride who are being drafted right around him, or wait another round or 2 and get my hands on Pitts or Ingram.
Yeah.
Like, I have a hard time justifying taking Mark Andrews at 47.
And Mark Andrews is that weird tight end that almost feels like you need to handcuff.
Yeah, you better I'd like to have Likely.
You don't like doing that with a tight end.
No, I
though.
don't.
Like,
I don't.
You feel like you could use that roster spot somewhere else. You don't want to play that game.
Yeah, whether it's a backup tight end, which
right.
I again also don't usually do.
No.
I'll stream one for a week, and I if I'm going that route, I don't want to bank the health all over Mark Andrews. I know anyone can get hurt. I get it, but boy, Jackson's panic throws have got to stop.
Yeah.
Like, I like Lamar Jackson, don't get me wrong, but
I usually end up in redraft leagues with a terrible tight end. Like, I just stream a bunch of trash usually.
Yeah.
Just because of how I draft, it always seems like
you're stronger everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. But is it me, or does Lamar Jackson seem like he throws him into just the most egregious hits ever? Like, right?
He's throwing him into some big hits.
Yeah, man. He takes a whooping. So again, that kind of falls in play with his ADP. Like, Lamar's going to throw him into danger. Like, I don't believe that leaves what Lamar Jackson does. He has a knack to panic throw from time to time, and it seems like Mark Andrews always takes the brunt of that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Mark Andrews' talent is great. I'm not knocking Mark Andrews.
The top 5 tight ends Kelsey, Laporta, Andrews, McBride, Kincaid. You want all those guys over Andrews. At his height of his career, Andrews might actually be the most all-around talented of all those guys.
Sure.
His blocking ability and all that, but right now in fantasy football, give me Trey McBride, give me Dalton Kincaid, give me Kyle Pitts, give me Evan Ingram.
Yep, I totally agree. I'll even wait. Like, give me another receiver there.
Yeah.
And if I got to settle for Dallas Goedert, I will.
Yeah.
I am not taking Mark Andrews at that. You're talking about at some point in round 4. And I'm not ready there.
I'm never the guy that, and that's why I always have crappy tight ends too, but I'm never the guy that takes that Mark Andrews. I'll wait for Cole Kmet or Pat Freiermuth, and Pat Freiermuth has a year like he had last year, and you're like, well, this sucks, so I'll start streaming a bunch of garbage, But that's what usually seems to happen. Yeah, too rich for my blood too, Shed.
Okay, good enough. We got 2 more here. Let's go on to Tua Tagovailoa.
Tua?
Yep.
Is not going to...
That's who we're talking about.
He is not going to do what he did last year.
Okay.
We've stated this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Tua. So many big plays, and I get it. He has Tyreek Hill out there, and Tyreek Hill is still awesome. Was just voted number 1 player in the NFL by the Players Committee, or by the players. I just don't think Tua ever reaches these numbers again. And he did throw the ball downfield, don't get me wrong, but man, a lot of crossing routes that were just 60 yards after the catch running. And Tyreek Hill is going to have those plays, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's going to translate to the yardage and touchdowns that it did. I think Tua being QB9 last year is his ceiling. He's getting drafted fairly high. There's a lot of quarterbacks I want that aren't Tua Tagovailoa in that area code.
Yeah, his ADP is 105. Let's go down a few guys here. Brock Purdy's ADP, we'll start there because he's ADP 100, so he's right near him. Brock Purdy or Tua?
Brock Purdy.
Same. Jaden Daniels or Tua?
Jaden Daniels.
Okay. Yeah, I think me too. Just the athletic upside, I can't really ignore that.
Yep.
Again, me to a fault. I go Jaden Daniels. Jared Goff or Tua?
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff away is a scary thing.
Fair enough.
Tua can't play in the cold. I don't think either.
But I mean,
I will take Tua, I think, over Goff. But how about Tua versus Caleb Williams?
Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I'll take that chance. Tua versus Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor.
Really?
Yep.
That's a dip in ADP. That's 105 to 122. I'll take this next guy. I'd take Justin Herbert.
In a redraft, Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. Sure.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, there's just, again, so at this 105, there's going to be other players that I would just rather take.
Yeah, and I think you can go all the way down.
Outside of quarterback, there's going to be other guys.
The cutoff is Deshaun Watson. Shocker. I'll take Tua over Deshaun Watson. Probably take him over Baker and Stafford too. But like Cousins and Rodgers, I want Cousins and Rodgers over Tua.
I was really hoping you wouldn't say you take him or wouldn't take him over Stafford. Or wait. Did you say you would take him over Stafford?
I would take Stafford, or I would take Tua over Stafford.
Okay. I was hoping it wasn't going to be the other way around.
But like that's where he comes into play, like that Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson. All them other guys I want over Tua Tagovailoa, because I don't think what happened last year is a sustainable thing. I think he's gonna have, he's gonna get his throws, he's gonna have some yardage, but I think last year's numbers were ceiling numbers. I don't think Tua does that again.
Just don't think he hits it again.
No,
that's a pretty good argument. I that's really hard to sustain. Mike McDaniels is awesome.
He is.
Don't get me wrong. He's a mad genius.
But they can run the ball so well too.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go on to Josh Jacobs. ADP around 30. No, thank you. No way, man. No way. He's unfortunately, he's been very beat up. After that wicked, what was it, like almost 400 touch 2022 season, we got a pretty lackluster 2023 compared to what his ADP was. It seems like his ability to run through and break tackles has kind of disappeared. I just think he's had the snot beat right out of him.
Something happened.
He looks sluggish. He looks a little abused. he turned in a pretty modest season, like being drafted by a lot of teams as their RB1 last year. All right, listen to this. 41st in explosive run rate, 37th in missed tackles forced per attempt. Isn't that something? 44th in yards after contact per attempt.
Whew.
Yeah. This year's ADP puts him pretty much in the same area as last year.
And
now he's playing in the cold.
My biggest problem with Josh Jacobs is that RB11 price tag.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's
They're
a tough
just
spot.
guys that I can wait and get what I feel is going to be more of a value on.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys being drafted around his ADP that I would certainly prefer. Michael Pittman, Nico Collins, Joe Mixon, go a little deeper, Devonta Smith, DJ Moore. I know we've talked about them a lot, but they happen to be right around these guys that I just don't get the ADP. It feels like a really high risk of a repeat of last year. Camp reports, which I don't like buying into a whole ton, but there's some validity behind certain items, and I do think that the reports on Marshawn Lloyd are legit. It's very possible we see more of him than initially thought.
Yeah.
So with the ADP, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'll get other players I prefer, and I'll wait and I'll take Marshawn Lloyd for free.
Avoid.
Yep. I'm avoiding the hell out of Josh Jacobs.
Person we talked about earlier, are you shocked? One has an ADP of, I just had him here, Josh Jacobs, 11. Overall, 24. RB11, 24. Going down here, Devin Singletary, RB31, overall 88. If I have to make a bet right now, somebody says, "Yeah, who has the better running back season at the end of the year?" I'll take Singletary. For way more value.
Love it.
For way more value.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
you can get him so much later, and that's just why I'm so low on Josh Jacobs for.
Oh, he's your third pick.
No,
He's your
not.
third pick.
He's not.
Oh no, he isn't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna avoid him like the plague, man.
I don't want.
I'm running way away from him. Those stats that I just said, that's yikes. No, thank you. Okay, that's it. How about? Do you have any final thoughts?
No.
Nope, I don't today either. All right, that's it, everybody. That's it for today's show. Again, as always, thank you all so much for tuning in and giving us your support. Remember, if you'd like your trades graded, please check out the description for details. Join us next time for a rookie revisit episode where we'll discuss some rookies that we've changed our minds on for better or for worse. And please remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share Spotify, Twitter, and YouTube. And please tell your friends. See you next time, everybody.